Evening, folks. Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for yet another sweet legacy stream. This stream brought to you by Lomer Boy, and we're going to be playing some Punishing Jund today. So Jund is an archetype that's relatively popular in Modern. It's sort of an on-again, off-again deck, where it's always something that you can do, but it kind of rotates in and out of favor. Jund tends to be highly interactive, which is one of its strengths, but it doesn't necessarily have as much card manipulation as some of the blue soup decks do in Legacy, and that's a reason why it tends to not see as much play. So if we look at the angles of attack of this deck, they are varied. And it might be easiest if I just kind of shove the sideboard out of the way and make some piles for you. So if we look, we have 8 pieces of discard. 10? 9? Well, I guess it kind of depends on how you count this stuff. So we have 14 things that remove permanents in one way or another. Lightning Bolt, Punishing Fire, Decay, Trophy, K Command, a couple Planeswalkers, Pulse. And then kind of the stuff that remains is Threat plus 2 Sylvan Libraries as card manipulation. And this is sort of our dig and card draw. We are kind of reliant on Bob and Sylvan Libraries for refueling, although Bloodbraid Elf also sometimes functions as a way to refuel. We have a handful of things that hit relatively hard in Tarmogoyf and then Kroxa. This is one that many of you might not be familiar with. It is a 6/6 for 2 mana, but there's some strings attached to that. In order for it to actually stick around, you need to escape it for black, black, red, red. So the first time you cast it for 2 mana, each opponent discards a card, and then each opponent who didn't discard a non-land card this way loses 3 life. So at first, it's a burn spell, and then later on in the game, it grows into a real threat. There's one other really interesting card in the sideboard, and that is Klothys, God of Destiny. So basically, we're not turning this thing on ever. It's I guess technically possible, but highly unlikely that we would turn this into a creature. This thing is very similar to Deathrite Shaman. Yeah, that's exactly it. In that, at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you exile a card from a graveyard. If it's a land, you get a mana. Otherwise, you gain 2 life, and Klothys deals 2 damage to each opponent. So this is either a Deathrite Shaman activation every turn that you don't need to invest mana into, or it's a ramp spell. We don't necessarily need it for a ramp spell in this deck most of the time, because all of our cards cost as much as or less than this card. But it is some fixing, and when you have Bob or Sylvan Library, it's a way for you to empty out your hand relatively quickly, and once your hand's empty, you just start using it to drain and stabilize. The sideboard's just full of good cards. We have a handful of blasts, ley lines, 3 extra removal spells, and then some degenerate 2019 cards. Of note, there's one thing that I should have done with this deck list that I did not. The choke that's here should be a Carpet of Flowers, but they were out of stock of Carpet of Flowers. I don't know if you realized it, but there was a giant Legacy event going on today. So all of the loan programs, I think, are taxed a little bit harder than normal in terms of their Legacy staples. So I was able to get everything else except 1 Carpet of Flowers, and I decided to just put a choke in the sideboard because, well, choke is fun. Let's just go ahead and hop into a league, and along the way I'll chat about my big event today. I already played that. Legacy League with Punishing Jund. So today I went and played in the Legacy, oh god, what did they actually call it? The Legacy Super Qualifier. And I went 6-3, which I think got me 44th place or something of that ilk, which I'm relatively happy with. I played Red Prison today, not because I thought it was a deck that was particularly well prisoned. Sorry. a deck that was particularly well positioned, but because it was a deck that I could play my rounds in 10 minutes and then like spend the rest of the day doing other things. I still have to work, I still have to teach and whatnot, so I could afford 10 minutes every hour to sneak in a game of Red Prison, but I couldn't really afford any more time than that today. I would have played Loam in the event if I felt like I had the entire day to properly commit to the event, but I just did not. But I was able to play some rounds with Red Prisons, grade all my assignments, and record videos in between, so it worked out pretty well for me. I had 4 Pyroblasts in the sideboard because I need to respect Oko. Also, why is my Moto running so clunkily? Oh, maybe I didn't do what the pros did and restart it every hour, so maybe I'm running into, like, the old memory leak problems. If it continues, I'm gonna go ahead and just reboot in between rounds. Turn 1, Thoughtseize. Turn 2, Bob or Tarmogoyf. That's gonna be a keep. Hey, Lumberboy, now that you're here, thank you very much for the donation, by the way. Looking forward to this. No, Moto just pushed out a whole bunch of new updates today, so things are weirder than normal. And there's a lot of odd new sounds that I don't know how I feel about yet. The Junderdome, I like that. I like that a lot. Or maybe Welcome to the Jundgle. That's pretty good, too. Yeah, yep. All right. We're not looking back there. And I'm definitely rebooting Moto in between rounds. My cards keep getting, like, stuck as I scroll past them. That's kind of weird. There's so many blue decks out there. I played in the super preliminary today, and I think I played against 7 blue decks in 9 rounds. I don't think I get Swamp here. I think I'm going to take a Bayou. I need black, obviously. I don't need red right now. Oh boy. So my opponent goes Land Grant, Tinderwall, Rite of Flame. It's up to 3 mana. They can't put Charbelcher into play as of right now. If I don't take LED, they just echo and gamble away their kind of crappy hand. But I could run into some problems if I leave them with everything else. I'm going to go ahead and take the LED, but things are sort of weird. I am not that man. I can't claim that credit. I think I'm supposed to take Bob and use that to look for, like, black lands and discard. Rather than play Tarmogoyf and try to make a slightly better clock. Do I have Assassin's Trophy? I do have an Assassin's Trophy. Alright, so I found the Hymn to Turok. I can hold up Assassin's Trophy for the Goblin Charbelcher. My opponent has 2 cards that I don't know about. I don't know that I win if I play scared, though. Like, if I hold back and my opponent takes an Echo line instead. I think it ends up pretty poorly for me. If I Lightning Bolt my opponent end of turn, this Tarmogoyf is hitting for 4 next turn. And the Assassin's Trophy still does me good if my opponent can only put the Charbelcher into play. Now my opponent discards something as well. I have discarded the Echo. Man, really wanted another black land there. So I'm thinking about this turn. There's some K command lines where I try to make them discard something that grows the Tarmogoyf, but I already have land instant sorcery artifacts, so I don't think that's happening. I hit for 6, put them to 10, I play Tarmogoyf, I Lightning Bolt them, I have them dead next turn. I'm admittedly scared. And I should maybe hold up the trophy for... No, holding up trophy for Charbelcher won't do anything, right? Yeah. So I still get to do that on my own turn. Yeah, I guess I'm just going face here. One, two, three, four, five, six. My opponent played out like this for realsies. And would have gotten them by holding up Assassin Trophy because I would have gotten to Assassin Trophy their LED. So, sloppy play from my opponent. It probably doesn't matter. I'd probably just die here. But I get to look at my opponent's deck. They're a Burning Wish, Desperate Ritual, and Gamble version. Okay. Belcher is not necessarily the sort of matchup that we're looking to win anyway. So Leyline's good, playing Engineer and Goblin is fine. Could technically force a Vigor, but I don't know that that's something that I'm going to need to do. Lily Last Hope, not really what I'm looking for. I'll keep things that destroy artifacts, but like the Punishing Fires probably go. The Sylvan Libraries are probably slow. And some of the stuff like Decay and Assassin's Trophy, Pulse, K Command are a little bit awkward, but sometimes my opponent is going to play things out to avoid discard, and I can, like, get them. So that's fine. Bolt isn't overly impressive. Library isn't overly impressive. Library helps me dig towards the discard, though. Kroxa is, I guess, awkward due to Echo of Eons, but that's a 1-of, so I don't know. Bloodbraid is slow, but like Bolt is also pretty bad. How does this look? Counting those as not 4-drops, but as, you know, effective 0-drops. This is probably okay. The bolts may be better than the Bloodbraids, but the Bloodbraids have the chance to cascade into like some of these other sweet cards that matter a lot, and it's still a haste creature. We're definitely playing Plague Engineer for Goblin, like unquestionably. Nope. Yes. This isn't ideal. I think I keep it. I junk the Abrupt Decay. I have a piece of interaction for an Echo-based hand. And I have a piece of interaction for a Goblin-based hand. As well as something that can chip away. But we would really like to draw a 2-drop next turn with this hand. But I don't know that I want to go to 5 to look for a piece of discard. I don't know how profitable that is. We could actually have a pretty interesting conversation about what lands you're supposed to be playing out here. I've chosen to play out the 2 fetch lands because they're going to give me the greatest flexibility if my opponent, like, somehow ends up echoing. But this may end up giving me, like, causing me to cause more damage. Take more damage, sorry. So it's possible I was supposed to lead on 1 fetch and then play bad lands. I'll just make some goblins for me. Make some goblins for the stream. Alright, the land's still in the deck, so I technically have outs to this. Negative 26, eh? Rough. Alright, I'm gonna take a second and reboot Magic Online because it is being slow. Hope you all are having a great day. I hope some of you got to play in the super preliminary thing that was today. It was a lot of fun. I went 6-3 with Red Prison. Pretty happy with my performance. My losses were to Loam. No, my losses were to Sneak and Show, Lands, and Grixis Delver. And then I got wins against Loam and 5 blue decks. Sneak and Show can be a tricky matchup. I got my opponent to 1 in game 3 and then bottomed out. They produced a Grizzlebrand, and I just needed a live draw. Alright, come on, Moto. You can do it. Sorry about that. No, Twitch Prime is still definitely a thing. I do not know that you can resub using Twitch Prime from a phone. That's not something that I've tried to do. Yeah, that's why you play Belcher, right? Is you hit good matchups, and when you hit good matchups, it's very hard to lose. Hello, hello, welcome. But pretty much anything we queue into here should be more interactive than that. I did receive one sub off stream. Felchmaster resubbed off stream, so we already have one towards our sub goal for today, which I'm really excited about. Rich was looking to go and play some Magic and produce some content, and so I contacted him about potentially coming on the stream, and he was interested. I'm going to keep this hand. It has some problems in that we have a very mana-intensive hand, but only one colored mana source. But Thoughtseize into Tarmogoyf is pretty sweet. So my opponent revealed Ancient Tomb and then played Forest. That's fine as a land to lead on. Alright, so we are playing against a Titan Post list. My opponent is getting a Ramunap next turn, and I will Abrupt Decay 1. The real question is, am I just supposed to take the Primeval Titan? Because that thing hitting play is a nuisance. Like, I can keep them from getting value out of Ramunap, but I don't really care about Ramunap. Between Decay and Lily, I've got that covered. I think I'm just supposed to take the Prime Time. I went 6-3 in the Super PTQ, Super Preliminary, whatever you want to call it. I think I got 44th. So I'm plenty happy with that. Jund versus Titan. This is indeed real life. I'm going to cut myself off red here temporarily, but Kroxa is probably not where I want to be in the next couple of turns anyway. I think the black-black for Liliana matters a lot. So I'm not going to play super safely here and get the basic forest. The sounds on Moto have gotten much, much more aggressive. So they play a Verdant Catacombs from their hand, so they don't generate Ramunap value this turn, which is cool. And then we get to Lily the Ramunap before they get value out of it. The one thing here, though, is that if my opponent has Dryad Arbor, this turn becomes much more awkward, and I didn't think about that until I already cast the Lily. Yep. So the correct play there was probably just to Maelstrom Pulse Ramunap and play around this exact line. Realize that too late. Yeah, it's probably about time to get a clock into play. a very large Tarmogoyf. We have a Maelstrom Pulse for a Primeval Titan. JK, we have a Maelstrom Pulse for a Tireless Tracker. We've got to answer that card. That's interesting. I can Pulse and Kroxa this turn, but I can also just Wasteland this Ancient Tomb. Ancient Tomb's pretty darn good with my opponent's clues. Kind of. I'm also pressuring their life total a lot. So if I Pulse this, they'll either chump block or take 5. I think it's probably better to waste and Pulse. And then not play my Grove of the Burn Willows. Well, no, I will play the Grove of the Burn Willows. No, I won't. It's sort of weird, because like I want to protect the red source, but I don't think my opponent can wasteland me anyway. And there's some weird worlds where I could use some extra mana. I mean, I like to see that. Ooh, a library. So this hits my opponent down to 2. I give them a life, and then I taketh the life away. Alright, so we're playing against this, like, mono-green Primeval Titan ramp deck. No. Right? Still no? Like, definitely. There's not blue or black spells in my opponent's deck? Didn't they get the memo? Those cards are good. Like Oko? So this is awkward because of Dryad Arbor, but I still think we need more answers to Titan. So we probably end up playing some of these cards. Punishing Fire is super awkward because it doesn't kill Ramunap. And it doesn't kill Tireless Tracker after they've cracked 1 clue. But I don't know that that means that I'm supposed to board it out. I don't necessarily feel like Kroxa is going to do enough in this matchup. It's a 6/6 that requires a decent amount of setup, and I feel like I'm not going to want to play this a lot of the time because they can just discard a land, replay it with Ramunap, and get a decent amount of value. Choke for Dryad? Oh, that's fascinating. So the Dryad gives them all basic land types, right? So it does turn them into island. That's frickin' hilarious. I'm just gonna like double check the text of that card real quick. Yeah, our every basic land type. I've like got to do that, right? Like for the memes. Get in there. And then I don't really know from there. Like, Lily Last Hope's probably not killing that many things. I don't know. Maybe we don't play Lily's Triumph. And maybe I trim one of the two Punishing Fires because I was on the fence about it. I'm in with this hand. Let's go. I can also get basics early on, which I like a lot. I received a donation for that deck, by the way. That's in the queue. I think it's still about 2 weeks out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, it's 10 decks out. So it's a little ways away. But it's coming. Opponent's hand is super redundant. And they get to play their 3 drops as of next turn. So, Tireless Tracker is the scariest card here, not close. The Ramu Naps make the Dryad more redundant. Or sorry, the Ramu Naps make the Life from the Loam redundant, so that's not necessarily what I need. If I'm willing to expose myself to Wasteland, I can him my opponent this turn. Him hitting Loam is super awkward, though. I don't think I want to him. So the question is, like, do I bob or ooze? If I ooze, I'm oozing off of just 1 green. No, like, the him hitting Loam would be a disaster for me because then my opponent generates card value out of the Ramu Nap and makes their land drop, which they're not guaranteed to do otherwise. Either way, I'm fetching the forest this turn. That's 100% happening. I think I need more mana to win this game. Like, another land would let me, like, say, get a Bayou, Thoughtseize, and Ooze in the same turn or something like that. So, the creatures that my opponent's playing have big butts. And that makes my K commands and Punishing Fires way more awkward than normal. We're definitely getting to play against some interesting things this league. Okay, so we get a land. I know my opponent has a Ramu Nap that I can take with Inquisition. I don't want to just, like, naked K command them. They just discard Loam, and that's bad for me. So let's start with the Inquisition. Another Dryad and Ramu Nap. I think I'll destroy the Ramu Nap here. If I remove one of these, I want to remove the Ramu Nap, I think. Actually, maybe that's not true. If I remove one, maybe it's the Dryad, because, like, Dryad plus Life from the Loam is scarier. Yeah, let's take the Dryad. And then play out the Ooze and pass the turn. We're kind of hoping to dodge a little bit here in terms of my opponent's draw for turn. And if they just, like, now just casting a Naked Life from the Loam isn't particularly good. Alright, so opponent's sending it all in. I will take the block on the Dryad Arbor. My opponent is just going to replay it from the graveyard. So I'm not really generating a ton of value by doing this. But it's free. Oh, right. I was thinking, why were they tapping for black? But black is the top symbol on there, so they were just, you know, doing stuff. Alright, Bob. It's a little scary. So I could eat the life from the loam to stop my opponent from dredging. But that wouldn't grow the ooze, and I'd end up taking more hits. I can't play a removal spell and eat, which is unfortunate. So many bad things happen if I let this life from the loam go around. I might just need to play the Tarmogoyf to stall the board, though. All in all, I do not feel great about my position. If my opponent's creatures don't aggro me out, my Bob probably ends up killing me anyway. I think I need to stall the board. And I don't think I can afford to Thoughtseize this. The round 1 matchup was Belcher. It was just as bad as you imagine it was. Maybe worse. Evening, Lone Raider. My opponent's Ancient Tomb is so good here. Don't do me dirty, Bob. Good job, Bob. Alright, so now I can start looking at doing things. Verdant Catacombs is getting a green source. That much I have figured out. Probably needs to get a red source because I can be wastelanded off red. My opponent can just play a single wasteland for some reason. Now, what am I doing? I can eat Tracker and Dryad. Go up to 8 life. Try to get aggressive. I'm in a tough spot. I can also just, like, decay and trophy this turn. reduce the number of creatures that my opponent has in play and crash in that way. So like I could decay both Ramunap excavators. Well, I could decay / trophy the 2 excavators, and then crash in with everybody but Bob, hold Bob back as a blocker. Now I guess Ooze can't attack if I do that. God, the loam that's there still is annoying with this. Maybe I take out this and 1 Ramunap. I could just eat the life from the loam here and sit back. On Bob and Ooze. Double block a Ramunap. No. Alright. I'm going to ship in with the Goyf. And I guess I can hold up Assassin's Trophy. Like, maybe force my opponent into a weird attack, and then destroy a Ramunap later. Tough turn. It's interesting whether or not my opponent dredges here, or whether they just take a draw. Because drawing towards Primeval Titan is so good. I have no 6-drop that kills me, so I don't need to eat with Ooze in my upkeep. That sounds like a great night. Clothis. Okay. I feel like I just try to stabilize my life total as much as possible here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 creatures in graveyard. I can gain 3 life this turn. So I think I have become the aggressor. My opponent is going to need to block. If I attack with Goyf and Ooze, my opponent has to block with one of them. If I attack with Goyf, Ooze, Bob, and my opponent lets Ooze through, it's 5 damage and I have 2 mana left over. Or I can make it 4, 5, 6. I don't know if my opponent has another Dryad Arbor. I could try to get like cute with K command here. But if I have a second Dryad Arbor, things get really weird for me. Alright. So now I need to gain some life. Gain 1 like that. Let's gain another. So this will hit my opponent to 6, putting him to 3. I'll put them to 4 when I tap the Grove. And then I play Clothis. Seems fine. And then I can gain 3 life in my upkeep to make sure that I don't die to my Bob hitting Bloodbraid. My opponent also may need to like hold back the Ramway Nap if they want to live through a turn. But it really depends on what they're doing. Unsure if I beat a top deck Primeval Titan or Green Sun. Are we going to find out? It seems like we're going to find out. Oh man, do they like Bajuka Bog themselves here? Attack me for 2, put me to 3, and leave me at the mercy of Bob. Oh god. That's okay, I still beat that. I have direct damage. Okay, so quick math here. So I just exile a non-land card, it deals 2 to my opponent, and then I K-command my opponent. I need black and red to K-command so I can use my green mana now. So this is black-red colorless for that, so I can eat 1 more time with Ooze to guarantee that I don't die. Alright. Just not a land. Not sure what this pause is here for my opponent. Like, I don't know what they can be thinking about. There's some weird crop rotation-like shenanigans going on or something. I'm just going to click on one of the things in my own graveyard. I don't want to like click on that life from the loam and then my opponent like somehow takes it out of the graveyard. I guess technically I could have thought seized first to see if my opponent had something weird. Whew. We got that one on really narrow margins. I have so many screenshots on my computer of 42 AD beating me with total bullshit cards that should not be in Ants. Pernicious Deed is a great one. Like, he has Caracas to me, Pernicious Deeded me. It's crazy. Yeah, there we go. His hand can't be that bad. It has Sylvan Library in it. I think I'm just jamming Library on 2. It'll kind of depend on what I see from my opponent, though. I see lands that are indicative of combo. I might play Croxa, just like take a card from them. This is a tough turn. So my opponent could be on Loam. They could be on a Green Sun Zenith Toolbox deck. They could be on some sort of Dark Depths deck that has a Green Sun package for like Reclaimers. The safest play is to just play Inquisition, but it doesn't use my mana efficiency, which I dislike about it. I'm just going to play an early Library here. I have lines where next turn I play like Croxa and make my opponent discard. Or I just like Lily away that Dryad Arbor. The Sylvan Library is just going to help me smooth things out. Yeah, Elves is also a possibility, in which case this Lily Last Hope is going to be like... maybe Oko Elves. Alright, some sort of like Bugly of old deck. Okay. So, womp womp due to Leovold here. Oh, do I not even like get the option to try in Sylvan Library? Cool. So I can blow up my opponent's Dryad Arbor and just turn it into a different card. This Leovold's actually very good against me. I probably just need to pulse it out of existence this turn. Let's get diversity here. Would be a cripplingly good force of will. But I don't think my opponent has force of will since Sylvan Library resolved. I'm not equipped to beat an Oko if my opponent plays one. I had to use this pulse on the Leovold. As of right now, my next turn is Inquisition, followed by Lily in that order. Fuck. Decay off the top, please. Sylvan Library, you get to dig deep. Do your thing. Fuck. Alright, that's going on top. I'm not in a position to be wastelanding my opponent anytime soon. So I think I'm going to go ahead and put this on top. And then fetch away the cards that I don't want. Our Lily at this point is a distraction. My opponent is going to get to hit it for 2 this turn. Oh god, Wasteland Loam. So is my opponent actually playing a like actual factual Loam deck? Like blue Loam that's a little bit heavier in blue than normal, with like Leovold and probably Uro as well. Alright, come on, answer to Oko. Fuck! Oh, this is so bad. I probably need to like try to get past this stuff. I'm gonna put 1 back. Yeah, my opponent is playing Loam. And their hand is absolute gas. I'm not beating this Uro long term. This Knight is going to devastate me if I don't take it. Bob's also incredibly good. And now my opponent just discards a land back that they can get back to life from the Loam later. So they discarded the Blast Zone there. So my Lily stays alive, which is cool. But like my opponent has 2 powerhouse cards that I don't think I can beat. Like, they wait a little while to play the Bob, obviously, because they don't play it into my Liliana. But like long term, that's a problem. Long term, the Uro is a problem. The Uro works really well with the life from the Loam that they have. I also don't really know how I just beat Blast Zone. That card is problematic in its own right. pretty close to just conceding. I'm not there yet. God, library, why can't you find me anything that's good? I can't just, like, take the Uro out of their hand. And wastelanding them isn't a profitable long-term thing. They have lands in hand, so I can't keep them off of loam. I'm also never going to get to cast this Kroxa from my graveyard. It requires 4 mana to do. So now Oko Plus is here, kills this. I think I get one last look at Decay before I just can't win this game. And now there's a Cycler land and a Bojuka Bog there as well. That's brutal. So I need my opponent to mess up and not wasteland Badlands. My opponent overattacked the Liliana, which I do appreciate. Alright, now I should be dead. Alright, I think we were a little unlucky with our Sylvan Library draws there. That felt pretty rough. So my blasts are going to be good for the Okos. Choke technically does things, although I don't know that it's really going to do what I want it to do. Plague Engineer on Human or Elk is interesting and probably good enough to be playing. Lily's Triumph for bigger creatures is fine. Veil of Summer, I guess, is worth consideration. No, I don't think I'm going to be playing Leylines. I'm a value-oriented deck, and if I'm playing these Leylines, they're going to make my own Tarmogoyfs smaller. And I don't know that that's something that I'm going to be able to accept. I mean, I think Loam is one of the best decks in the format. It's what I would have played in the challenge today had I had time to actually dedicate longer rounds, which I did not. You know, I can justify taking 10 minutes off every hour or so to play, you know, one match with Red Prison. But I couldn't justify taking most of every hour to play Loam. Yeah, I don't know that, like, I can actually fight on the Leyline front. Lomer Boy, do you care to chime in here? Like, I think my Kroxa is clunky. I don't think I want that. You think I need to bring in Leyline? Alright. I'll take your word for it. Boarding tips. I don't think I want discard. I think I need to play to the board more. Him is, like, maybe fine. So this leaves me with a whole bunch of removal. And then, like, maybe I'm over sideboarding. I want all my answers to Oko. Maybe I have enough answers to Bob already that I don't need to Plague Engineer. Plague Engineer is just also good against Knight. Yeah, like that was... My initial thought was no Leylines. I really like this pile of stuff. Keep in Kroxa. I'm skeptical. I would consider the Leylines on the draw. Double Wasteland here really sucks. Does this hand win the game? I don't know if this hand wins the game. If I keep this, I'm throwing back the Veil. Passing with Verdant on 1. Probably doing nothing on 1. Punishing Fire on 2. I have no threat, no pressure, no card that's a real haymaker in the matchup. What does my 5 look like that outvalues Loam? Ugh. Not pleased with this. Like if my opponent just like plays a Bob or a Dryad Arbor here, like I get some value with this Punishing Fire, which is cool. But I still don't know how good things are. Because I'm treating Wasteland like a spell and I have nothing to protect with Veil right now. Fuck! So much value. Now this Wasteland is no longer a spell. Ugh. So if the opponent has Wasteland and Blast Zone. If I want to Pyroblast, I have to fetch a non-basic to do it. We're dead. He has learned to love 6 on Magic Online. I believe he is currently playing in the top 8 of today's super premier awesome tournament thing. And a very well-known Delver player, very successful. Now my opponent just needs to like discard one of their lands again. Maybe they can discard an Uro for value. Well, my hand has done literally nothing, right? That's the real problem here. Like Loam aside, I have no threat, no pressure, no interaction with my opponent. That's the problem here. It's not necessarily the graveyard, that's secondary. The caliber of my own draw is my primary problem here. Like if I had played out a Bob and my opponent couldn't have spent time loaming without any pressure, the game's totally different. So this is probably a tireless tracker. Oh no, Uro. Yep. Would you have mulled away that 6? I don't know that we win on 5. think this is a, say, like, screw you, Wasteland, you can't get them all sort of game. Alright, as far as turns go, that was pretty okay. So the problem with me just going like Swamp Forest with my hand is that I have 3 red cards and only 1 more red source remaining. So I think that if I go for the basics there, in the long term, it ends up being kind of rough for me. We're going to get to Pyroblast this Uro back into the graveyard so that my opponent can play it again. And then maybe by the second time around, I can string together. Yeah, that's super inconvenient. Okay. God, this thing giving my opponent life is so brutal right now. And what my opponent's doing also shrinks the Tarmogoyf inconveniently. This feels bad. So my opponent can now, like, fetch or Wasteland, get the 5th card into the graveyard, cast Uro again. I'll Pyroblast it that time. Deal 6 more to my opponent. Hey JD, welcome. We'll see what we can do. Shawnee Stone, thank you very much for following. I hope you're enjoying the content, even though I am getting terribly, terribly bullied here. So interesting, my opponent played Bob over Uro. Technically, as of right now, they're just closed until May. Am I playing towards spiking a red source next turn? To Pyroblast this Uro? I might need to just attack into that Bob. Like, I feel like my opponent is trading Bob for Bloodbraid here. But why didn't they Uro? Do they just have, like, a decay as well? In which case, I'm, like, super Omega boned. Mono black meme decks are not meme decks. They're real decks. Moving on. We're not winning from there. That was brutal. I think the mono black decks have more credit than people. I think the mono black decks deserve more credit than people give them. They are surprisingly powerful. Like, Dark Ritual is an unfair Magic card. Yeah, so as far as my work stuff goes, I am online, I believe, until at least May 15th, as of right now. which is basically the end of school. I would not be surprised at all if that just gets extended to the end of the school year completely. I have found ways to like convey information and get things done. I'm not going to claim that I'm doing things in the most fun way right now. I will be doing things that are going to be really, really fun and interesting, but the first week was just kind of like survival mode, like make sure I get the kids doing something that like matters and is relevant. So I kind of reviewed for a week. Now I'm actually doing some more material. But I'll be looking into more like games, puzzles, activities, and such that they can be doing. I've heard good things about something called Ed Puzzles that I haven't checked out yet. And I'll be making some online exercises, flashcards, that sorts of stuff for them. But it's hard. Yeah, I have an awesome project planned for my Latin 2s. My Latin 2s are going to be writing like stories in small groups, and that's going to go really well. But I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to do with my Latin ones yet to like have something really entertaining for them. I'm doing Trojan War stuff, which is fun, but I would like to convey at least some of that information in the form of like games and exercises. I mean, the Trojan War is one of like the unquestionable greatest stories of all time, right? So, as far as mono black deck rankings go, I actually think Pox is worse than a lot of the other meme decks that I've played. I think you're really fighting an uphill battle when you're playing Pox most of the time, just because it's so easy for like certain top decks to completely invalidate what you're doing. Whereas some of the other mono black meme decks have ways to quickly end the game. Like with both Death and Curses, I got turn 1 Leyline Helm kills, and Pox doesn't have anything like that that provides that same degree of pivot. So I don't know about Pox. Like, obviously, anyone who's playing Pox is not playing Pox because like it is the deck that they think is going to give them the greatest win percentage. It's because Pox is really fun to play. And like when things go well and like you have like curse scroll locks, it's so fun. But life's hard for a Pox player. What do I have mismatching Tarmogoyfs? I must own one Tarmogoyf. So this is a turn to Bob. We almost kind of hope that Bob dies to grow the Tarmogoyf. I'll probably Wasteland on turn 3, basically no matter what my opponent does with this hand. I mean, yeah, a lot of decks got better since Breach got banned. Breach was the best deck by so much. Yes, got better, in quotes, is exactly it. Just like Death and Taxes got better, but then it's still like, oh god, Plague Engineer. Oh god, everything else my opponent is doing. I'm going to play Wasteland here. It will not allow me to Abrupt Decay or Kroxa on turn 2, but I think I'm jamming a Bob down my opponent's throat no matter what. Alright, we are playing against Eldrazi. Holy crap, my opponent mulliganed to 4? This isn't even a question anymore. Sorry, I didn't notice that. Is that scary? I don't feel like that's scary. I just play Bob, trade with Mimic. My opponent has 2 Jitte counters. I'll play Tarmogoyfs that end up being bigger. And that's just freaking cheating. I feel dirty. Is this what it's like to be on the other side of K command? Oh god, is opponent really doing something other than equipping Jitte and bashing? Okay, I was gonna say, like, I would get Mimic and Jitte for the K command next turn. No attack! No attack! Oh my god, this K command is so fucking juicy. Oh my god. Fucking. Ugh. Ugh. Alright. Let's deal 2 damage to any target, destroy target artifact. I derive sexual pleasure from this. This is my fetish right here. Yeah, they don't even have a Thought-Knot Seer. Rough. Yeet is a word that isn't necessarily easy to define. It's kind of a word that you can flexibly use for various reasons. So, my opponent's just done with me. It often means to throw, as in, you know, I'm just gonna yeet that, and you just mean, like, get rid of it. But you can also just use it to mean something kind of like cool. Just like, oh man, that happened. Yeet. Against the Eldruzels. I want those. And Force of Vigor is worth considering. I feel like most of my cards are pretty good against Eldrazi, if I'm being totally honest. Like, the Bobs are a little suspect because of the life loss. And maybe some of my turn 1 discard stuff is a little sketch. Kroxa as a 6/6 is super good, but it costs me 6 mana to get that, which is a lot. So my opponent is probably going to have 2-ish Umazawa's Jittes and maybe 2-ish Sorceress Spyglass, maybe Ratchet Bomb. Do I want to bring in Force of Vigor to fight against those things when Decay and Trophy already fights? Like, if my opponent plays a Sorceress Spyglass, it just, like, trades 1-for-1 with one of my walkers in all likelihood. I don't think Kroxa should be in this deck, if I'm being honest. It has not felt good. I also think the life loss from Bob is kind of rough. So I think I'm going to do that. We don't really have sideboard cards for this matchup, but I think we're pretty well equipped anyway. Yes. Snap it off. Thoughtseize is a big scary threat. Have a fistful of removal left. Are you supposed to Chalice against Jund? Klothys gains me 2 life a turn. I think that's fine. I'm going to get Lily's Triumph on whatever critter my opponent plays, probably. That's an awkward one. So my opponent kept this hand. And they couldn't play a Thought-Knot Seer. That makes me think Reality Smasher is incoming. And I don't think I beat Reality Smasher with my hand as it stands currently. So I'm going to go ahead and Wasteland Eldrazi Temple rather than Ancient Tomb. With the hopes that maybe I can pivot to an aggro roll at some point this game. Oh boy. Life is awkward. We're going to Lily Triumph away a Matter of Shaper and turn it into another card. And I'm also going to get Wastelanded off this Bayou. No, I think the life loss is going to be super relevant this game. Well, okay, let me rephrase. If I don't just die, the life loss will become relevant as the game goes longer. I need to get a black source. I'm just going to get the other Bayou and not give my opponent a real choice as to what they wasteland. Then leave my red sources in the deck so that I can have them for a longer amount of time. Alright, it's a Thought-Knot Seer. Okay, my opponent doesn't have the land to play Thought-Knot Seer, or values Wastelanding me highly, one of the two. Yeah, that's my treasure for the main event of today. So many Matter Shapers. Where did they come from? So I'm going 9 here. Now, probably mid-combat, I'm going to kill a Matter Shaper and the Chalice. That will turn on Lightning Bolt for the other Reshaper. If Bolt doesn't get Thought-Knotted away. I don't know how I beat the Thought-Knot once it's in play. I'd have to do like Lightning Bolt plus Punishing Fire. could make my opponent discard a card, but I don't know that that's actually going to work out for me well. Yeah, Assassin's Trophy, Goyf. Now it could just be Reality Smasher, which would fuck me up. Destroy target artifact, 2 damage to any target. A Blast Zone. Alright, so now Endbringer is online. He could have something like All His Dust in hand or something. Like, I know they have a Thought-Nuts here. Another Mimic. So this should be my Bolt going, so that it can't kill Mimic. Plague Engineer would be pretty decent. Bob? Interesting. Man, Bloodbraid, you are so close to what I want. So I can play Lily, kill Mimic, take 7 die. I can hold up all my mana, hope my opponent doesn't attack, but of course they will attack. Alright. Yeah, even if I bolt the Matter Reshaper instead, I'd still take exactly lethal. So I know my opponent's playing Chalice now, which sort of incentivizes me to board out Thoughtseize. No, I don't think I'm going to cut a him. Him's better when I'm on the play as well. I don't know that the Force of Vigor is that good, and the Force of Vigors would make my Bobs worse. Colossus is repeated life gain. I think that card would be fine. Yes. Jitte is not played anymore. We saw Jitte game 1. So, I disagree. Yeah, main board, game 1. We will be taking Dismember with this hand. My opponent can play a 2-2 or a 3-3 on turn 1. Ooh, Mimic off the top is pretty good. Ooh-wee! Alright, now we do that instead of bobbing. Oh, we are killing it with fire for sure. But we're going to see if we can get my opponent to burn their Spirit Guide first. Like, or cast an endless one for X equals 4. We Punishing Fire the Mimic in response, then we Abrupt Decay the endless one, and then we use Bob as a mid-game card rather than an early game card. And we play towards drawing a decent 3-drop or a Goyf. Nice 3-3. Oh, Chalice 1. Deal. Deal. We'll get a basic forest here. Yeah, so we paved the way for this to be good by taking the Dismember in the early game. And my opponent took a turn off to do this, and we don't have that many 1-drops remaining in our deck. We've used 1 Thoughtseize, so we have 2 Thoughtseize as 3 bolts that stops. Yo. 4-5 Goyf seems great. Yeah, Bob is serving us up the good stuff this game. And opponent has conceded there. Man, we are flying through this league. It seems like we either win or lose our games very quickly with this deck. I actively dislike some of them. Like, I think the like card flicking thing is pretty annoying. I think the in-game startup music is unnecessary. Like, it sounds kind of cool. Someone compared it to like some old school Diablo 2 sounds, and I respect that. But like, I don't need a song. I don't need Magic Online to play me the song of its people every time it boots up. Yeah, Fornia, that's my primary complaint with the current. Like, why would they dedicate their time and money to making new sounds for the game when there's so many other problems with the client? Like, you can't add cards to a binder when you open a trade chest. You can't sort the cards that you've acquired based on recent. There's so many small quality of life things that people have been asking for years, and we get new sounds. Although, they did add something with the update that people have been asking for, and that's the ability to see if Magic Online is working from within the client. Yeah, and the fact that you can't play it on Mac is rough, that you have to like boot camp for it. My opponent's just like an Abrupt Decay deck. I don't really want to like play this Sylvan Library out right now, I don't think. But at the same time, if my opponent's a Life from the Loam deck, it's kind of embarrassing to play Croxa here. F this card. This card's so bad. I feel like my library is so likely to get decayed. I don't think I want to play it here. Is this getting a basic? This one can't get forest, which is awkward. So like I can't get forest and play Croaks this turn, so I can't get forest swamp, which means this is fetching a non-basic. Maybe that is something that makes me want to actually cast Sylvan Library. Alright, I've changed my mind. I'm not running the proper number of stifles. Yeah, I forgot my 1 of stifle. 1 is the proper number, right? That's what we were talking about? Yeah, I agree. Adding new sound effects is probably very, 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 very easy. So it's something that shows the users they're doing something for Magic Online in a time where many people are flocking to Magic Online in Arena. Oh man, my opponent's red-black Reanimator. What? So my opponent thinks we're Loam. And my opponent is... yes, I still do coaching lessons. I have one booked for Friday night. Although that is not a session for D&T. That one's for post. Seems correct to play a Bob. Also seems correct to take at least 4 here to get through some of these lands. I'm going to put 1 back and then pay 4 life to keep this one. So we've set our Bob up to not deal us damage next turn, and we get through new cards with Sylvan Library. If you are interested in that, please shoot me an email. Info is here. Is this the thing that makes the demon? Smallpox. Rough. I think the limiting factor right now is how good D&T is. I did a coaching service with Innistrad Revenue Service a few weeks ago, and they said their win rate picked up a bit, and that they were playing much better, but they were still getting clowned on by Oko a little bit. Yo, I'm totally discarding this Kroxa. Get out of my hand. Those are great cards. I think I wasteland my opponent here. I can't Lily, though, if I do that. And maybe I just need to work towards playing Lily. Yeah. Let's put Wasteland on top. Let's put Lily on top. Hide Lily. Play a Bayou, hold up Decay, and pass. I think my land drops are more valuable than my opponent's because I have Lily and Kroxa to work towards. And I do have red, black with my current lands, so that's cool. Jeez, that's a fucking punish for leaving the Lily on top, huh? I was playing around discard. It's good enough. Has exiled my graveyard too. Son of a bitch. That's so good. What else went to the Shadow Realm? I lost a Tarmogoyf. Yeah, it's worth a decay. It is absolutely worth a decay. Yeah, my opponent's deck is weird. I don't mean that as an insult. I don't understand what they're doing. Okay, I will check it either tonight or tomorrow morning, depending on how late the stream goes and what else I have going on. A Hymn to Turok. Yeah, it got Ashiok. It's gone. Arnie Asada, thank you very much for following. I hope you are enjoying the content. That occurs. And Yogurt69, thank you very much for following as well. So I know the top card of my library. I guess the question is, do I want to save this fetch for a turn and, like, take the best card off the Sylvan library and then fetch later? I think the answer is yes. I'm happy with that. I don't think I want this Punishing Fire enough to pay life for it. I would rather have access to another green, so I can't get Wastelanded off of playing Tarmogoyf. This Lily potentially gets me a creature back, which is some degree of big game. Is my opponent a Kroxa deck too? Is that what the red's for? Doing pretty well. So the cards on top of my library suck. I kind of want to Lily minus and clear them. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to just work towards Liliana ultimate though. I probably am supposed to just work towards Liliana ultimate. Not going to wasteland my opponent. I have Pulse for any walker that they play. My opponent targets me with discard. Am I supposed to blow up the Chalice of the Void? I feel like yes, right? It's an artifact for Tarmogoyf. Why did my opponent fetch? These are mysteries. Yeah, but fetch to thin main phase? Yeah, I wonder if there's like Sorcerer Spyglass in my opponent's deck or anything. I don't think I get to beware of Demigod of Revenge. I think my opponent just gets to hit me with it if it happens. Oh, like you're for real. Okay. That's a better Chalice to decay. So I'm definitely fetching. I don't have very many fetchables left. So this is really only shutting 3 lightning bolts. Maybe I'm just supposed to hold this abrupt decay. Nice. This seems mean. Oh man, it's a Tarmogoyf. Where'd that come from? Alright. So I went from having 0 power to having 8 power off of that top deck. It came from my deck? What? And then at the end step, I was going to get 2 more zombies. So that turn, we produced 12 power. That was sweet. Alright, so we are playing against a Pox-ish Chalice deck. What do I want? Veil of Summer. Chef's Kiss. Plague Engineer, probably good. I guess the ley lines are sort of interesting and the forces are sort of interesting. So my opponent has these chalices, but I don't think I care about them. A chalice on 2 is kind of a beating, though. I feel like I don't want to be fighting this battle. Opponent's win con might be mill via Ashiok. Someone in chat said Demigod of Revenge. Yeah, so I know that I still have 5 outs to a Chalice on 2, but I might want more. What's Engineer for? Engineer has power and toughness, so I'm boarding it in. That is legitimately what Engineer is for, because I just want to have 1 more threat in my deck. It also may Death Touch something weird that my opponent has. Like, who knows, my opponent could have, like, Bobs in there or something. I've made my Bobs a little scarier by doing this. I don't know about the Liliana's Triumph. I think I'm going to keep another him over that. I mean, sometimes the big brain plays are the ones that, like, win you games. I think Snuff Out is played an appropriate amount for its power level. Dismember often ends up being a more flexible version of Snuff Out. I think my mana is too bad for me to keep this hand. I don't really want to mulligan against this deck, but I would much rather have something with 3 or more lands. Yeah, there we go. I like this hand much better. I'm not sure if you're supposed to throw back the Wasteland or one of Decay or Trophy there. When your opponent's playing Sinkhole, every extra land is actually pretty valuable. Spirit Guide. I'm going to fetch. And then your Ashiok resolves. We lost a Bloodbraid. Alright, so now I just let that live for a turn, let them minus it again, and then I kill it with Bolt, rather than use Decay or Trophy on it. I would want to sacrifice Taiga if my opponent plays Smallpox. Opponent's deck is, like, legitimately interesting. All in all, this isn't so bad for me. I get to trade Bolt and Decay for 2 different Planeswalkers. And I think I'm going to go ahead and just take this trade right now, rather than, like, trade like a land in my hand for 1 random card in my opponent's hand. So with Delver being one of the premier decks of the format, 4 life to answer a creature is a pretty huge cost. And similarly, like, basically all of the... Yeah, okay, there's the Croxa. Basically all of the mid-rangey decks are playing Oko right now. Beautiful. And Oko is pretty crazy good at pressuring your life total. And, like, Snuff Out lines up very poorly against Oko. Like, you don't want to pay 4 life to answer an Elk. Yeah, now Sylvan Library can dig to find us an answer to the Croxa. I'm very happy with the library draw. None of those things answer Croxa. Not even together. So when Croxa attacks, it does this thing again. So Croxa is effectively going to attack for 9, which is not good for me. How many outs to Croxa do I have? John. There it is. Lily, maybe the last Bloodbraid, Pulse, Trophy, and some of that is in exile already. 1 Bloodbraid is in exile, 1 Lily is in exile. I think I'm just taking 9 here, fetching to clear the top of the library, and trying to find Pulse. Hope it does something. Oh, sorry, yeah, I also have Decay, right? This is technically a 2 CMC card, even though it costs 6 mana to get into play. Ooh, this is rough. That probably eliminates a lot of the Bloodbraid-based lines. Let's find the other Bayou. Alright, library. And I can't even kill myself with it. So whoever asked me what Plague Engineer was for, it's for that. It's for Croxa. It'll trade with that sucker. Let's bring in the Liliana's Triumph as well over a Hymn to Turok. Maybe these Punishing Fires don't really... No, the Punishing Fires are fine against the Walkers. If I also get the Grove. And it's something that's good to discard. So, I don't want cards in my deck that we're going to... How do I say this? I don't want cards in my deck that are going to be bad in the late game, because my opponent's pretty good at dragging these games on, and I want my top decks to be live. If it's turn 7 and I draw Thoughtseize, Hymn, Inquisition, it's going to feel so bad that I would rather have live cards. It's not that Thoughtseize is a bad card. It's just like, based on the way that I foresee these games going, I don't think that's the plan that I want to be on. Like, Thoughtseize taking my opponent's first Planeswalker is cool and all, but if I have more things that, like, pressure my opponent, more things that answer their cards, it kind of works out the same way. And some of the Planeswalkers that they would play out that I would play into Veil of Summer pretty well, and could potentially set me up for some blowouts. Keep. This is a bit of a slow hand. I don't have like a Bob or a Tarmogoyf to throw into play, but Veil of Summer is a counterspell that cantrips, and I'm fine with holding that / Decay up on turns 1 and 2. My Lily isn't necessarily ideal, but it's pretty annoying. If I was going to play a free removal spell, I would play Submerge or Gut Shot. Thought sees me. Thought sees me. Do it. Ah, well, that's cool. Let's do non-basics here. I'm going to value curving out here rather than like trying to sandbag the Bob for a turn to protect it via Veil. Smallpox kind of sucks here. So this doesn't stop Lily plus. How does Smallpox read? I don't think that targets. I think that's on each player. Each player. I can play Wooded Foothills. This is a really weird turn. So I can just like Abrupt Decay and hold up Veil and protect the rest of my hand. I can play Lily and say, I have the Lily that's going to ultimate first. What are you going to do about it? I could play Tarmogoyf and try to kill Lily via damage next turn. So I don't really think I care about my Wasteland all that much. I think I'm okay discarding that and trying to use this Tarmogoyf to kill Lily. And then save the Abrupt Decay for something that's potentially scarier later, like a Kroxa. Because my opponent could like Lily plus discard Kroxa, put Kroxa into play as soon as this turn. As far as free removal spells go, Snuff Out seems rough in Curses, which is already playing Ancient Tomb. You're trying to use removal spells to keep your life total reasonable so that you can execute your game plan. I don't necessarily think that Snuff Out is going to do what you want it to do. So the black... Oh. That kind of sucks for me. Like, it's not the end of the world. That plays around my Veil of Summer pretty well. Or does it? This is target player? Yep, okay. So that's fine. So this is me as well. Nice. Oh, ooze. He's not all that big. So now the ooze plays around a future edict as well as Kroxa. Well, kind of Kroxa. Alright, I'll be sacrificing my ooze here. I don't... Actually, no, I want to leave a Planeswalker in the yard. I was thinking about random stuff that my opponent could get back, but my size of my Tarmogoyf matters here quite a bit. Okay, well, Decay will answer that. Or Onboard Lily will also answer that, which is probably better. It's weird, though, depending on what I draw. Slash if my opponent plays around. My opponent could play around a Decay if I just pass the turn. Alright, that's the ideal circumstance. So now we have an onboard answer to Kroxa twice. Dang. What a draw. What a draw. Deck really came through in the last couple of draw steps there. Cannot lie. Sakurai is a creature and a planeswalker? Frickin' A. Ugh. I think I'm going to pay 4 life and get through some of those. Do I need to make my opponent discard, or sorry, do I need to destroy one of my opponent's lands for any reason? No. My opponent already has the mana to flashback Kroxa, or escape Kroxa, and there's worlds where I like double spell involving Bloodbraid or 2/3 drops, and I want this mana. Putting a card in the graveyard also just like plays towards the next escape. These are not good cards. I think I hold both back. I think a smallpox, or no, smallpox is a bad example, but like a removal spell on one of my plague engineers that was on the defensive, and then I take 7 is very bad for me. Four more plague engineers would do it, but then I think the DCI would have a chat with me. It's possible. No. Like, there are scenarios where I want to be holding a land for, like, Croxa triggers reasons or something like that. But my opponent potentially has a bunch of dead discard in hand that I don't really want to muck with. You have your own plague engineers. You're going to put yours on carrier, and that's going to be kind of cute. Opponent getting a second human. Okay, just not taking the on board and just stopping Bob. I can respect that, I guess. Man, a Punishing Fire would be so good. Are those in my sideboard? No. So I need to make this trade. And if I block the Plague Engineer, my opponent has 4 cards in graveyard for Croxa. I think I'm just going to take this trade and assume that sooner or later I can actually find a removal spell for the Plague Engineer. I don't get to draw any more bonus cards with Library. Oh, that sucks. So opponent goes Croxa, trigger me, fetch, have 4 cards in graveyard. Opponent needs 1 more card. It's my own Croxa. So, red, green, red, green, green. Or wrong colors, but you know what I mean. Alright, I feel like I've clicked 5 cards. So now, if opponent gets a card that they can put into their graveyard, I die. Yeah. Womp womp. So our Kroxa suck a lot. All league. It only showed up to lose. To be fair, I think we win this last game most of the time, but our Sylvan Library towards the end of the game there just drew us into lands and the Force of Vigor, which was not particularly good in the first place. Not that it really would have been better if it was a piece of discard. That just kind of is what it is. Like a Punishing Fire on that Plague Engineer did sweet things that league. Okay. Jund does not feel like a competitive deck to me right now. Veil of Summer is running around the format, and I think it's very scary to be playing like Thoughtseize Him against that sort of stuff. And I was also kind of terrified of Oko. In the match, I guess in the game where we saw Oko hit play, it was just very hard for us to do anything. And I feel like Oko is like the best thing to be doing in the format right now. Like whether it's in Loam or a Snoko Shell or something like that. And if you're going to be playing this sort of mid-range plan, it just seems like a mistake to not be running Oko. Of course, I mean you're gonna see me streaming 3 days a week. Got some fun things planned. Got some things in the backlog. Hoping to have a stream with Rich next weekend, which should be pretty cool. And I've got a cube video recorded. I might end up recording a couple more of those. The Him Thoughtseize main deck not playing Oko is underperforming? Wait, what? Yeah, and like we also don't have that many Blood Braids, which is like surprising to me. It feels like if you're going to be playing Jund, the reason to play Jund is for Bloodbraid, because like that is like your huge value-oriented engine, and like Bloodbraiding into like Tarmogoyf, Dark Confidant, Sylvan Libraries are just so good. So like I would want this Kroxa to be another Bloodbraid, because Kroxa was terrible. You know what else Kroxa isn't? Uro. Uro is so much better than Kroxa. Like my god. Like Uro gains life, draws you cards, lets you play extra lands, and then this one does nothing. A primary difference there being that, like, assuming you're not going to die, it's totally just fine to tap out on turn 3 and use Uro's first half to set yourself up. Whereas, like, it is totally unreasonable to play this on turn 2 if you have, like, any of these cards in your hand. So if I was going to play this again, I would yeet the Kroxa right on out of here to play another Bloodbraid. And honestly, I'd probably get rid of the Clothis, too, for another Bloodbraid. Clothis did win us a game, and that was fine and dandy, but I'm not convinced that it's better than Bloodbraid. Bloodbraid into Oko must be where it's at. Mr. Parker, I like the way you were thinking. And for anyone else who wasn't here at the very beginning of the stream, this choke should be a Carpet of Flowers, but Card Hoarder was out of stock due to like the giant legacy event that was just finishing up when I started streaming. So that's that. What's next in the queue? What is today? Today's Thursday. So that means Saturday will be a Green Sun Zenith food chain deck. Let's delete this Jund deck. Keep my stuff nice and organized. So Saturday's deck looks like this. It is a Green Sun, Oko, Leovold, Uro, Misthala Griffin, Food Chain combo deck. It's pretty sweet. I'm looking forward to see how this plays out. Like, I think Uro and Oko are some of the best things to be doing in the format. And Food Chain is a deck that often bullies fair blue decks because you just get to keep playing Griffins forever. And a lot of decks just lose to a handful of Griffins. So this seems like an interesting way to attack the metagame. We'll see how it goes. Folks, I hope you enjoyed tonight. I'm going to be wrapping things up here. We have one subscription towards our goal of getting a Delver stream on here next weekend with an awesomely talented pilot. So we'll push the goal to Saturday, where we'll have to get 2 instead. And if you're enjoying this content and you haven't followed already, please follow. I've got a lot of sweet legacy content coming in the not too distant future. Next week, we're probably going to have White Eldrazi and either 4 or 5 color Loam. And then, assuming we hit our goal, then Saturday will be probably some sort of Delver deck. I'll have to message Rich and see what flavor he's playing right now. All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn you over to Doogs on Twitch, who is presumably playing some Maverick. Have a great rest of the night. And Golgari, thank you very much for following. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Have a great rest of the evening.